Nice to see you. I'm going to start the recording at 11:30, so we're just treading water until then. How are you doing?
Hi, I was muted.
Ah,
So, yeah, I'm fine. I didn't sleep much, so I'm pretty tired, but I'm fine. How are you, Lakshmi?
There's like an ibogaine Zoom kind of thing happening, and it just
okay. So anyone who comes in, please mute yourself. I'm just gonna put that in the chat. Please mute. What time is it where you are?
Now it's 7:30 evening.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will be tired by the end of the day. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, and
All
hopefully
good.
the conversation will
Yes. No, I'm pretty confident that this will work fine.
yeah.
Mm, yeah. I will get my camera started in 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
I'll start at 11:30, so if you just turn
Yeah.
it on a minute before, that'd be great.
Okay. Yes. Mm. I just remembered. I'm not a chemist. I was a glass technician, glass developer. So I do the glassware for the chemists.
Oh, I see. Okay,
We
well,
developed like it's same field, same we developed special classes that allows electrons to permeate it, and we built certain reactors and all those things. And yeah, but it's slight minor difference. But
definitely.
I'm fine if you just let the chemist stand there, and it's okay, no
I
big
can
deal.
I can edit that in the written.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll do that
Yeah.
after this meeting, and if
Hmm.
you once we start the recording, if you want to explain it, you can. But I don't think it's a big deal, and
Nah,
I'll put
it's
on the.
nothing I would want to waste any time on.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have 2 hours. Speaking of time, so I think
Hmm.
we can really have a good conversation. And mm, let me just. If I
Will,
say
do,
no.
will we incorporate other people also, like having dialogue with others?
Well, so this is a deep dive into you and your relationship and how you came to the medicine and but yeah, there is a community. It's a community conversation. There's room for questions. If anybody has questions, they'll put it in the
Hmm.
chat. And so you know, yeah, I have certain things I want to make sure that we cover. So that because my interest is in creating an archive of the knowledge that has been earned by so many people in the ibogaine community when it was kind of fringe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Where are you now? Are you in Arizona?
I'm in Boulder, Colorado.
Ah, okay. Did you move?
We moved, yeah, we moved here. We came here for the MAPS conference and kind of liked it and thought it was a good place for someone
Hmm.
interested in psychedelic. But actually, we're going to move back to Sedona because, as it turns out, the licensing and everything is so um, expensive, and that it makes the
Hmm.
treatments themselves unaffordable for anyone who wants to do
Hmm.
it. And so it's really not a very good situation, and where we don't feel like it's really the answer, you know.
Hmm.
So,
Is there like the licensing you could in Colorado basically get a licensed iboga provider or
no,
mushroom provider? No.
no. Well, you can get a license for mushrooms. Yeah, you can get a psilocybin.
Hmm.
but then they force you to use certain rooms, and they force you to pay. You have to pay more than one license. There's one for the grower and one for the. It's just compartmentalized, so it becomes very expensive. So okay, let me officially start. So basically, the licensure is very prohibitive,
Mm-hmm.
financially prohibitive. So anyway, I'm going to start. So let me just switch gears for a minute and hit record.
Right.
So hello everyone. Welcome to All About Ibogaine, a Thursday conversation that is hosted by Awake.net, an entheogenic platform that I and a few others created in 2021, and we've been gathering. Um, uh, I call it a living library of practitioners, people who've been working with entheogenic medicines like ibogaine, iboga, ayahuasca, psilocybin, other things for a long time. And my urgency in having this conversation and having people come to it every week is because I don't want that hard earned knowledge to slip away. I want it to be available. But I also want to create a place where, in the crowd of snake oil salesmen, which is really what is going on right now in the psychedelic world, there's a lot of people without enough experience talking about it. I want to have a place where the people who we're interviewing have years of experience, have been really working with this medicine when it was difficult to work with it, when there was no regulation, no public approval of it like we have now. So I'm really excited to welcome today Tobias Erny, who, hi Tobias. Uh,
Hi, thank
so
you
nice.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So Tobias is going to share with us his story about how he came to the medicine, um, and what he's been doing. If you can just talk about what you've been doing and I I would really like to dive deep into your latest research about Parkinson's. But before that, can you just tell us, who you are and how you came to Ibogaine? That's really the thing I'm most interested in learning right now.
Sure, sure. So I was educated in the chemical pharmaceutical industry of Basel, Switzerland, back like in the millennia change. And in 2003, I, I experimented a lot with different psychedelics, but not just psychedelics, also other substances. And 2003, I kind of slided slowly in opiate addiction. I read about Ibogaine in, Blue Light Forum, and there are some of these Swiss and German drug forums where I lurked around quite a bit. And yeah, the opiate habit became quite unbearable anymore. My boss also said, like, you need to do something. You're always pretty wasted in work, and that's just not a way to go. And yeah, I remembered in 2005, then that I read something about ibogaine before. And then in 2006, I detoxed with ibogaine hydrochloride from my heroin habit, which was with, back at the time, there was something called Sacrament of Transition. It was a church only created in Slovenia to basically provide ibogaine legally. I think you had also people on here who were also or are still high priests or apostles or however they want to call themselves of this Sacrament of Transition Church. And yeah, this one guy from the church came to my place. He actually visited me. And so I detoxed with ibogaine hydrochloride, which was a quite interesting experience. But back at that time, I couldn't at first make so much out of it. And in Switzerland we have these rooms, or let's call it areas, which are kind of gated, fenced. But in the entrance there's a police officer, a security guy, and you cannot enter when you are not Swiss citizen, because they don't want drug tourism. But inside this area, it's like a house and an outdoor area. And inside this area, basically, you can deal there. Everything is pretty relaxed, so to say, with drugs. And inside the house, they give out needles, they give out food and all these. And my problem was that this area was basically on my way to work. I always walked to work, it was not that far. And so having detoxed in 2006 with ibogaine hydrochloride, I every day walked past this place where basically I was able to obtain opiates rather easily, like in the supermarket. And so I relapsed about half a year or something like this after my first ibogaine hydrochloride experience. So I took again ibogaine hydrochloride and was again clean for about, let's say, 3/4 of a year, something like this. But then again, always walking
Did you
past
take it
there.
with the same place?
Yeah. It's was always the same place, and so I relapsed again, and then in 2008, I tried iboga root bark. That I did something that is, I think, a kind of don't try this at home situation, because I just ordered it online from the internet and took it home alone with myself. So definitely a way not to do it, but it was quite impressive for me, this difference between ibogaine hydrochloride and then iboga root bark, because there was this, like, a plant spirit, a being which kind of teleported itself into my room. I was lying in my bed and being on iboga, and all of a sudden this being stood in front of my bed, and it looked a bit like this brute Guardians of the Galaxy, or like the Ents from Lord of the Rings, like a tree-ish being that kind of conveyed to me. I was pretty scared at that time, because this was my first encounter with plant spirits, and it was just all of a sudden standing there in my room, and I was a bit scared, and it kind of telepathically conveyed to me, hey, remember you ingested this root, and voila, here I am. So this was very, very impressive to me, because the ibogaine hydrochloride had done its job quite good, and but it was more me in my intra psychological bubble with the ibogaine hydrochloride. I mean, the gates were open, but with the iboga root bark, there was like this intelligence, this entity, this being, like a guide, and it conveyed to me, hey, I'm here to help you. I gonna work with you, and it came a bit closer, and I looked down at my body and I saw my energy systems, like all these nadis, or chi channels, some prana channels, and there were some of these channels really clogged, and some others were just broken, like an electric wire that was cut, and these two ends were like, and yeah, this plant spirit then came, and when it approached me, I still was quite scared, even so it somehow conveyed to me that it's helping, that it has good intentions. and it kind of reached inside my body, and the moment it touched me, and its hands, or its yeah, its hands kind of reached in me, and this very beautiful energy started to flow, and then it started connecting these wires which were broken, and this energetic flow just started streaming, and it was a really, really pleasant, really beautiful experience at that moment, and all my fear was basically gone. But it told me like, hey, there are things that you are not looking at. There are parts of yourself that you don't like, and I'm gonna teach you, and I'm gonna help you to heal yourself, basically. And so it took me to certain points in my life, and also showed me character traits of myself that I kind of didn't like. Or I was at that point not even aware of that I basically took opiates to numb myself from not having to face certain aspects of myself. And it really, in a loving but quite stern way, showed me a lot of things about my past, let's call it karmic entanglements, or maybe yeah, the causality, the causes and the effects of how I slided into the addiction.
Consequences.
Mhm. Sorry?
I just said consequences.
Yes, exactly. It was super interesting because this being then kind of also conveyed to me, hey, you are this human, and you basically you live, you die, you kind of forget, you get reborn, you respawn, and you live and you die and you forget, and it basically told me I'm this consecutive consciousness stream, like since eons, like it's like a very, very, very long time. I'm there, and I'm on the planet, and I'm kind of very experienced, so to say, with something that you now just had done a couple of years, like back at that time it was about 20 something years that I was alive. So it was like tapping or having a dialogue, or tapping into this super old, ancient, extremely wise and extremely knowledgeable intelligence that kind of, yeah, helped me with its experience. And from that moment on, I was like really, really interested to meet this entity again. And so I started more and more. I have to
Can
say
we pause?
that, yeah,
Sorry, I want to ask a question here before we move on.
sure.
But you were saying something. I didn't want to cut you off.
I was about to say that then I realized that me still living in Basel would basically lead sooner or later again to a relapse, because just the accessibility and the circle of people I was around and all these things. So I then moved and basically changed cities, which then helped tremendously, because yeah, not being around in these circles, and not not having had to walk past by this
Right.
supermarket of
Habit,
drugs.
habitual places that you inhabit, basically, right? You have to change that.
Yes,
Yeah. So I want to go
definitely.
back to what you said about the vision that you had, and the energy and the being. And
Mhm.
then you were saying that what it was communicating to you was about that you live for aeons, and you have these cycles
No,
of.
no, not I lived for eons. It told me, you as a human being, you live, you die, you're reborn, but
That's
every
what I'm
time you
saying.
forget, and itself, it is this having this consecutive consciousness streams without always
Oh,
forgetting
that
each
it
incarnation.
remembers. It remembers the incarnation. That's what the Buddha says.
Hmm.
That was his enlightenment, was waking up to understanding
Yeah.
his past lives. But what I wanted to, I've had a similar experience, and when I did ayahuasca the first time, and for me, what was so liberating about that idea that death is not the end, and that my life goes on, and I'm born again,
Hmm.
it kind of frees you. You're not clinging so tightly to everything, because you kind of have a more at least for me it was more expansive. And I feel like that's a part of the healing that happens. And when you was it so for you, is my question. Just understanding that there's more.
Yes, yes, very much like this knowledge that basically consciousness is not bound to a physical body, but kind of the physical body being just like a space suit that can be
Yeah,
changed. This is quite like experiencing it really firsthand is liberating, definitely liberating.
yeah, yeah. And did that create some fuel for you to stay with it, because then you realize there's a lot more to being a human being than what you think, right?
Yeah.
And
It's made me really interested in diving more into these astral worlds and other planes of existence,
right.
which then became kind of from a healing, self-healing approach, kind of saving my life with it. Became more in direction of a hobby, like being super curious and diving more and more into this. And then it started kind of helping friends and then helping friends of friends with it. And became slowly or segued into becoming more and more professional in this direction. And then, yeah, it took over like in, I think it was 2010, 2000, around 2010. A friend of me who owns the Nachtschatten Verlag, it's a publishing company. And he is the publisher of Albert Hoffman's books and Stanislav Grof books, all those Terence McKenna, these people in the German-speaking realm. And he approached me, or well, we talked on a conference, and he said, "Hey, we don't have a book on iboga." Back then, iboga was still very niche, even within the psychedelic world. And so he said, "You have kind of a background and you have experience. Don't you want to write a book on iboga?" Which he said after I told him about my experiences. So basically, I then had the offer to write a book on iboga, which now is in the German-speaking realms, like which is Switzerland, parts of Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. It became somehow the standard reference on iboga, and from that moment on, it became yeah, kind of naturally transformed from being this self-healing thing to hobby to helping people and becoming more and more professional in this. And that's basically a short overview of how I got into Iboga. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you get focused on, or how did you get into working on Parkinson's? As a
Ah, um, 2016, there was this Iboga Ibogaine conference in Tepoztlan. Like I think this was the largest conference to that date ever having existed on this planet. And there was Patient D introduced, Dean with his videos of him being able to eat again, being able to button a shirt, which was super interesting. And uh, from 2010, 2011 onwards, I got more and more involved with the Iboga people, also a bit more with the international Iboga people, got to know Dana Beal, got to know like these people around. It was a very small circle back then. I think basically everybody knew each other, and then it was 2017. I had it was on breaking convention, and Dana Beal, who we were friends back then, we still are, but he said, "Hey, you have these tinctures with you," because I had some iboga tinctures with me, and he told me Amanda Fielding's father of her kids, not husband, and but ex-partner, father of Amanda Fielding kids has Parkinson's, and so he said, "Hey, come on, let's go to Amanda and show her iboga and tell her about iboga." So we basically gave Amanda a iboga tincture for her ex-partner, and then I didn't hear from her for quite a while. But this somehow fueled in me also the interest or the spark of not only doing detoxes or psychospiritual explorers, but also looking around for Parkinson's disease. And we organized in 2017 also, after this breaking convention in London, we organized the European Ibogaine or Iboga Forum in Vienna. And there we had some interviews. Also, Dean, who was still alive at that time, patient D, he dialed in and we did a video interview, which can also be easily found on YouTube. And from that moment on, people just started inquiring more and more because it was online.
Right.
And so I started to treat, yeah, well, let's say not necessarily treat in a high dose regime, but I accompanied people on their low dose,
Oh, I see.
slow and low dose iboga trials or experiences. And I accompanied quite a few of these people then over the years. But around 2017, it started with Mr. Beal, with Dana, kind of pointing me in that direction.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
with,
But for those who were there, you saw her every.
Okay.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So I interviewed Eric Swenson, and I interviewed patient D, when he
Mm-hmm.
was in his 70s. And so I just put up the link to that interview as well, and I would love to get those other links. But
I'll
I just
find it. 1 second. I'll have them with
we
you
can do it. We can do
soon.
it afterwards, so we don't interrupt the thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I just want to say about Parkinson's that I don't know. I would love to kind of get a more scientific medical view of how ibogaine works for Parkinson's. Talk a little bit about that. But from the point of view of someone who's suffering from something like Parkinson's, it is a very slow degenerative disease, but over the years it becomes really like you're like a prisoner inside your own body. And what ibogaine can do for that, I wish I had known about it for my mother, because I had to watch her go through that, not be able to do more and more and more and more until you're not able to eat, and that was what it was with her. But the relief that ibogaine can give to someone with Parkinson's is just like such a boon. you know Such a boon. And apart from all the medical, having to be careful what you say, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a medical person, I'm going to say it's a fantastic thing for someone. It really creates a lot of relief in their life. So anyway, I just wanted to pay a little homage to my mother, and bring her into the conversation. And I'm so interested in it because it can help other people, and I've seen what Parkinson's can do to a person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow,
All
but
good. Don't worry. Don't worry. Let's go with the natural flow of whatever comes
um,
up.
but yeah. So can you share a little bit about? So you said that Dana Beal was the one who introduced you. So continue from there. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you work with people, you started working with people, and then did you start to just collate some information? Is it informal research or is it formal research? Or what is
Well,
it?
it started as quite informal, like basically accompanying people who have the need or urge to try iboga and ibogaine for their Parkinson's. And at some point, then I talked with Geoff Noller, and also Amanda then at some point came back and said, hey, it's really working really good for my ex-partner. And then we decided that we need to do it a bit more systemically. And we started to assess people. There's this UPTRS, the Unified Parkinson's Disease Rating Scale, and some other questionnaires like the PDQ-39, which is an questionnaire self-assessment of the quality of life. And there's the Parkinson's disease sleep scale that kind of assesses the quality of sleep. And there's the Parkinson's disease fatigue scale, which kind of assesses the fatigue or the during the waking hours and the motivation during the waking hours. And we also added the Beck's Depression Inventory revision 2. And so we started the people that came new and that I was about to accompany. We started doing like baseline assessments before they have ever tried iboga, and then during the process and after the process. And this was not like an official clinical trial because like the ethics commissions on all these things, you don't need to go through that if you do case reports, because those people would have anyhow tried iboga or ibogaine. So we could easily just say, hey, if you do it, could we also assess this? So yeah, we went, I drove to a lot of them and did these assessments with them and sometimes with doctors. And this is somehow how kind of a body of documented case reports started to come into existence. And this is also where this case report that was published this year in the Journal for Psychedelic Studies came into existence. And with all this now, we are currently setting up this phase 2A clinical trial, which is then placebo-controlled and open label, but crossover also. So it's work in progress to get it a real bulletproof clinical trial, hopefully fully bulletproof clinical trial. But in the beginning, it was basically, I wouldn't call it underground work because we can work here quite openly, not fully legal. It's kind of this gray area. Iboga and ibogaine, for example, in Germany are not listed as drugs. So you can buy them in shops. There are shops selling them, or in Vienna there are shops you can just walk in and buy it like you buy chewing gum or something.
Wow.
But the moment you are giving any kind of healing promises, or the moment you sell it as then it gets sketchy, because then there's something which is the medical law but not the drug law. But so you cannot do this. You if you sell it, you need to sell it as, for example, something like a sample for gas chromatographic analysis, or some people sell it for botanical collector items. Other people say it's for smudging, for burning and making the air smell not really good, but making the air smell. And so basically we can work more freely with it than I guess it used to be the case back then in the United States. which led to me being able to work with all these clients and patients who were then assessed.
So Tracy has a question about, hi Tracy, about combining microdose and low dose ibogaine or iboga with Parkinson's medication, like levodopa. Is there, do you know, how does that work?
So with carbidopa, levodopa, you can combine it. There's no problem at all. We tried. We had people who were on quite heavy doses of L-dopa, carbidopa, and you can combine carbidopa, levodopa with microdoses of iboga. And in best case scenarios, you can even, or people are able to lower their carbidopa, levodopa intake, which is quite good because it's these high doses of L-dopa are not necessarily pleasant, and you need to go higher, higher, higher. So yeah, it's in these best case scenarios, people can lower their carbidopa, levodopa intake. There are some other Parkinson medications, the dopamine receptor agonists, like D2 agonists or things like this. There you can also combine it. It gets a bit sketchy when it comes to the MAO-B inhibitors, which is also often prescribed as a Parkinson medication. So you can kind of work around that a bit with, depending on when you take the MAO-B inhibitor and when you take the iboga. But it's my experience is with the MAO-B inhibitors, it's quite inconsistent. So for some people, it works quite well. For some others, it potentiates the effects of the iboga. So people need less, which is also great. But for some people, they don't feel really good with it. But what's happening currently, or what I'm observing currently, is really an enigma that needs to be solved, because you know that there are these different causes for Parkinsonism, like genetic dispositions or idiopathic Parkinson's, or heavy metal toxins, or general environmental toxins, or heavy drug abuse in history, in personal history, or we have a lot of boxers, Muay Thai fighters, people who get a lot of shocks on their head. And usually I would have suspected that the different causes for Parkinsonism might be it should show in who reacts to it and who doesn't react to it, because we have people from having this really miraculous, like from not being able to walk to riding a bike again, which is absolutely astounding. But then on the other hand, we have also like about 40% of people who don't react at all to iboga or ibogaine in terms of their reaction combined with the Parkinson symptoms. So
So
their
it depends
Parkinson's.
on metabolism and health, state of health when they come to it, age, all of these other factors, right? So like any even plant medicine journey, like what it does, etc. They're very variable. So do you have any? Do you have? I guess do you have narratives and documents about the people that you worked with? Is there a body of knowledge that people can tap into who want to know more? Like I think Scott has another question here. Hi, Scott. Um, do you want? Are you able to are you able to discuss the dosing protocols you have used with Parkinson's? We are treating Parkinson's in Mexico, but honestly, kind of flying by the seat of our pants, so to speak. That's exactly what I was asking. Do you have stuff that other people can tap into?
So besides this one published case report in the Journal of Psychedelic Studies, there is nothing published currently. I think it might happen in together with this clinical phase 2A trial. But usually I started people with these microdosing regimes at the lowest possible, like really sub-perceptual, and keep them over 5, 7, 10 days in a non-perceivable dose, and then slowly ramp up and keep them again there for a week roughly, and seeing how they react. And then again, a step up. And by that, you kind of titrate yourself from bottom up, very safe, into a dose range where you might show reactions. But not everybody shows reactions. So, but usually after 4 weeks, 5 weeks of microdosing daily, you're able to say whether one is a responder or a non-responder.
So what is the low dose? Like, where do you start, and what is the ramp up where you start to see results, or even, typically, or if there's no typically, like approximately?
So let's say using ibogaine hydrochloride, I rarely see anything happen under 20 milligrams per day. There are, like patient D, for example, who took at the beginning 8 milligrams, which is, there are some of these really sensitive persons who respond to super small doses, but the broader field are more starting to respond from 20 milligrams and upwards. And we had people who took 75 milligrams of ibogaine hydrochloride per day and had really breakthrough results with this. But it's a very individual thing. Like, so when I work with people, usually we have first this calibration phase where kind of, we start with this non-perceptual doses, and where we slowly taper, or not taper, titrate the dose higher.
So if someone was doing it themselves, they can do, they could self-administer and watch their own progress. That's what patient D did. He
Yes.
just watched his own progress, because who knows how long it's going to be for all this research to, not just to coalesce or to become law or anything. Who knows how long it's going to be, but in the meantime.
Yeah, usually I think with this really low and slow dose protocol, people can do it remotely. Like there's something, I have never seen or observed anything going wrong in these dose ranges of 20, 25, 30, 35 milligrams per day. So it's something that I do accompany people online. So
Nice.
they obtain their medicine from sources they trust, and I kind of coach them on how to do it.
Oh, wonderful. Well, hopefully we can share the links here. Otherwise, they'll be on the recording. We'll put them on there. So, so how does it work? Have you, in your research, and like you were talking about measuring all these variables of what's happening with the patient, but do you know anything about what's happening in the brain and how the microdose is working?
Well, there are hypotheses. There are different hypotheses. So at the beginning, there was all this GDNF talk, this clear cell line-derived neurotrophic factor, which ibogaine stimulates the production of GDNF globally in the brain. GDNF was researched in the Parkinson's field already before patient D. So basically, there have been tests on how to insert GDNF into the brain. They were drilling holes in the skull and trying to put GDNF with little tubes into the substantia nigra and the striatum, which is not a really happy, fun procedure, and it's quite dangerous, and it didn't really work so much. And then there were also these trials of using genetically altered progenitors to bring GDNF somehow in the brain. And then iboga, which produces or which stimulates the production of GDNF in the brain, which is really good for Parkinson patients. But that is just one hypothesis. There is this pharmacochaperoning effect of iboga and ibogaine or iboga alkaloids, which is basically iboga working as a scaffold for misfolded proteins to fold and root correctly in the cell. So this pharmacochaperoning hypothesis is another one.
It's so
And
amazing
also, yes, it is. And
that it
then
would.
also sorry.
Can you say a little bit more about that? Is that the same as neuroregeneration?
Not really, no.
No.
No. Pharmacochaperoning is not neuroregeneration. But then on the neuroregeneration side of things, there has been some papers showing or pointing at how iboga basically heightens or increases the surface expression of dopamine transporters. So this is like this dopamine side of things, these different hypotheses. But I have observed that it's a huge multitude of different effects because ibogaine, like this, maybe you know the research of Roman Pasculin, also this dude from Slovenia who was also involved in this Sacrament of Transition Church that I shortly described before. And he made some research how iboga and ibogaine are basically optimizing the energetic metabolism of erythrocytes, thus giving kind of more energy. Also, how he showed in another paper how ibogaine works as a pro-antioxidant, so meaning itself is not a pro-antioxidant, but it stimulates the production of antioxidant enzymes. So there is something that ibogaine does in increasing the energy that is available to the body. And then also it has this stimulating or motivating, in Africa it's used as this stimulant. And we had, for example, this one patient who, one of these symptoms of Parkinson's is this lack of motivation, lack of energy, being depressed, being rather phlegmatic, lethargic, just sitting there and not really wanting to do anything anymore. And besides this energy side of things of Parkinson's, there's also noribogaine being an SSRI. So kind of increasing the mood a bit, brightening the mood. And if you put all these together, something like happens what I'm gonna explain now. There was this patient who was basically, he used to be a professor at the University of Zurich, and he was just sitting at home and being depressed and doing nothing, not going out and anything. So when Parkinson clients don't move and are basically just sitting around, their whole posture starts to get faster, worse. So this client, he took ibogaine in very low doses, and he didn't have tremors or something, but he was very stiff, and he couldn't walk erect, upright anymore, and his arms were not swinging when he was walking. And with the ibogaine, he basically became very motivated. So he went every day, started to go every day out in the park, and there was this Tai Chi group. And because having this drive, motivation to do something and being less depressed, he joined the Tai Chi group. And because doing Tai Chi, his posture started to become better and his arms started swinging. So I don't think it's this one mechanism of action where we can pinpoint it down, but it's like this multitude, this whole cascade of different things that all kind of work together on how it potentially or theoretically can help.
Yeah. Um, so do you find that the HCl works better or the iboga? Is it iboga that you have used in the microdosing?
It's quite interesting question because I think there's also a huge psychosomatic component to it. People who come more from a very rational, pragmatic background, they prefer 99.8 pure ibogaine hydrochloride, and they feel more safe when it's like this pure molecule coming out of a good lab. And other people who feel more connected to naturopathy and being more on the natural pathways, they seem to respond better to iboga or a full spectrum extract. And I think I've seen people reacting in general better to full spectrum extractions like a TA or some people taking the root bark than to ibogaine hydrochloride. The ibogaine hydrochloride in studies you need to use ibogaine hydrochloride, but people tend they're I think if I look at all the people I treated with the ibogaine hydrochloride, we had better results, and which might be due to the other alkaloids. But this psychological component is quite interesting because this professor from the University of Zurich, he reacted much better to ibogaine hydrochloride, and other people reacted much better, or the majority of other people reacts much better to iboga root bark powder or total alkaloid extraction or tinctures, also full spectrum tinctures.
I see.
What is
But they all work,
also
but they all work in varying degrees. That's what you're saying.
yeah. Also, it's I mean, if the person is a responder, they all somehow work, but there's not just this part of do they work or not, but also what are side effects. For example, people with a very sensitive stomach usually don't like iboga root bark that much because it's just heavier on the stomach. It's somehow, if you take a lot of iboga, you definitely feel that the body is not made to digest wood, and so somehow some people have this rather adverse event, or not adverse reaction, but unwanted side effects of having nausea, of feeling a bit unwell in the stomach when they take iboga root bark. And for them, ibogaine hydrochloride is much softer and much better on the stomach. Or TA might be something in between. But yeah, ibogaine hydrochloride seems to miss something that most people who are able to take root bark prefer root bark or a total alkaloid extraction over ibogaine hydrochloride. Often it's also a financial economic question, since ibogaine hydrochloride is way more expensive than root bark powder. So yeah, there are these different factors which kind of need to be taken into the equation whether a person reacts this or that way.
Right. Which is why I guess the online consultation that you do can be helpful for somebody who's navigating that terrain. Um, so there's some really excellent questions here. Scott is asking, are you able to discuss the dosing protocols you've used with Parkinson's? No, that's not, yeah, we already asked that. Here it is. Rachel is asking about academic research. Just 1 second, Rachel, we'll get to that in a second. Scott, given the fact that noribogaine levels are cumulative even with microdosing, there could be eventual QT elongation and resultant cardiac risk. So wondering how long you normally microdose. That's such an excellent question. How does that work?
It's again very individual. Usually after a month to 3 months, people have usually developed kind of an intuitive understanding how they react. So after 3 months, I tell everybody to make a pause, and if they pause and the positive effects start continuing, and then at some point the positive effects start slowly to wear out, which might be due to their metabolism. Some people have the positive effects for 2 more weeks, some people have it for 6 more weeks, but best results we have so far with doing between 1 and 3 months dosing period, followed by a not dosing period, and have these cycles going on again. But this the exact duration of each period is super individual and is something that I'll try to figure out with them as we go.
I see. I see. So then it becomes really, you can tell because you're not feeling that good anymore, and enough time has passed. It's not, and that the noribogaine has left levels have dropped, and so you can start using again. It's a really organic kind of transition, on off type thing. Yeah. Okay. Then there's another question here from Rachel. Yeah, so is there other research happening right now with Parkinson's and ibogaine, especially with all this new interest? I think that's the question from Rachel. Academic research, scientists and medical institutions are also interested in publications and trials. Is that going on?
Or
I
I'd be
think
curious to think about it more. Sorry. I'd be curious to think about it sort of collectively or hear your thoughts on who to encourage maybe. Thanks.
I definitely think there are things boiling or brewing up somewhere. I know that there are some efforts being done in different parts of the world. I don't know how openly I can speak about them, but I know that people are interested and that there is definitely here and there things being planned.
Yeah. So, a question about conservation or sustainability issues related to iboga. How can we try to source iboga that is sourced ethically and sustainably? From Tracy.
Mhm. Yes, I'm very aware of iboga and the related issues. There are, for example, for clinical trials or anything happening in a clinical setting, you need to take ibogaine hydrochloride, which usually is then derived from wakanga. And then there are a lot of farms now going on, like just a couple weeks ago, we had this ibogaine forum or ibogaine conference in Gabon, where basically the people were urged by their own leaders to grow more iboga, and there are a lot of iboga plantations now going on. I actually think I don't know if it's just my somewhat well, let's put it differently. I think there has never been more iboga cultivation going on the planet than right now. Like there are, I know of plantations with 80,000 plants in Gabon. I know of several plantations with 30, 40,000 plants, with 5 to 10,000 plants every year, newly planted. There is iboga being grown in Brazil. There's iboga being grown in northern Australia. There's iboga being grown in like Mexico or
Hi.
Costa Rica. Ghana, now people started these iboga plantations in Ghana. The people in Congo are now getting also aware of it. So there's on the one side this extracting iboga from the forests, and but on the other side there's also this really large scale plantation and conservation undertakings, which I think are growing even more and more now, what I see. So I, I don't know how it's going to explode the demand, but for ibogaine hydrochloride, it's pretty safe with Wakanga. And for the full spectrum, I think these other plantations and are a way to go. Like there are a lot of plantations in Gabon and Cameroon and Congo being supported by Westerners.
Right. Yeah, the demand is so high that it's kind of a natural thing that it's going to grow. It's going to keep growing exponentially. Um, yeah, and then sustainability issues, I guess. Yeah, I think that answers that. Uh, what is the ethically question? What is unethical? When is it unethical? I'm curious to what you think about that.
So I think the people who are growing it should be able to sell it, like people growing it in larger scale operations or around their villages should be able to sell it and get a good fair price for it. Also, what I sometimes saw is that the politicians of certain countries don't make it necessarily easy for the growers to sell it. So even so, there might be very good intentions of protecting iboga, and only certain people are allowed to sell it. This gives room or space for a lot of corrupt people basically jumping into the market, especially politicians who kind of sanction who can grow and sell iboga and who can not. There has been recent court ruling in Gabon, or a new law about iboga. And I heard some Gabonese voices who were saying it doesn't really clearly state who is allowed to do this and who is not allowed and what are the prerequisites to do it. So it's quite fuzzy, the law currently as it is. And I heard people in Gabon say they need this law to be a bit more clear, because currently it's just at the goodwill or not goodwill of the people in charge. So yeah, there
Favoritism
are,
happen very easily.
yeah.
It's corruptible. Yeah, well, I have a few questions about this that are kind of the sustainability issue, and my main question is, how can any one region own a plant that grows in so many regions, and how can any one tribe or region say that they control who can use the plant? Because plants don't belong to anybody. They can grow in different places. And so say, yeah, okay, you want to protect, the sustainability factors are very noble, and you want to make sure you have enough for your community. um, Anyone should be able to grow the plant, you know in any region. What are your thoughts about that?
Um,
Or is it
for
a loaded?
example, I mean, I heard now on the conference in Gabon, wheaty practitioners saying this plant is for the world. This is like it's even though it originates from certain areas of the planet, and even so there are stewards of the plant who should and who need to be accredited, or who should have a certain say in how this plant should be spread over the world. Most of them basically agree that ibogaine is for the world and should be there to heal people.
Oh yeah, good. That's great. I'm glad that that's the general consensus on it.
I don't know if it was the general consensus,
Oh,
because
okay.
in this conference there were quite like some opposing views, but I heard it being said not just once.
Yeah. Michael Bodden has a question about the compatibility of ibogaine and monoamine oxidase type B, MAOB inhibitor like
Mhm.
selegiline, can they work together
Mhm.
safely?
So I would rather have people not being on MAO-B inhibitors, but I had people who just against advice combined them, and they then needed less iboga or ibogaine, um, and had some good results. But I would definitely not advise for combining it, but I've seen people do it and having good results, and I've seen people do it and having, like, it's not a life and death situation like it is with full floods, but it's people got a bit nausea, people got a bit headache if they react not good to this combination. Um, so I think there much more research needs to be done, and it's hard to say yes or no. It's yes, but also that there's not this one solution fits all, or a definite answer doesn't exist in this field currently, as far as I understand it.
Yeah, it's an intuitive art at the moment, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think there's no more questions, and I was wondering if you wanted to share anything else about the Parkinson's trajectory. As where do you think you said you're going to do a phase 2 trial soon, or is it in phase 2 already? And
We do basically phase 2 in being conducted on sick people, like on sick objects. Yeah, it's currently in a phase where we look with the ethics committee and funding and all these things, but it's going to happen sooner, I think, hopefully sooner than later. Um, Maybe an interesting thing, which not with Parkinson's, but with the sustainability side of things. There were these basically it's said that iboga or the usage of iboga is taught or was taught by the Pygmy or Babongo Pygmy tribes, by the small people from the forest, by the nomadic living people from the forest. And they taught this use to the more settled Bantu people who are much taller. And it's interesting to see that the Pygmy people in Gabon are a very marginalized ethnicity. It's like the Dalits in India nearly. It's like they are being a bit treated like the untouchables, and they are kind of the genuine. Well, there are different groups of pygmies who are all are kind of genuine um, lineage holders, or being there and bringing this plant to the settled tribes. And it's sometimes kind of sad to see how their life living realm, their habitat is kind of destroyed, and they cannot really do anything about this because people in power have more interest in giving out mining concessions
I see.
over a certain part than helping those people. So there are some people in Gabon who are now trying to give those people a voice, because there's a lot of things being done in Gabon, but not so much actually for the real wisdom or lineage holders. I mean, yes, there is things being done, but it
It's the
could
same old
be,
story. It's the same old
yeah.
story of the conquerors or one tribe sort of suppressing another tribe. And I
Hmm.
feel like the real message of iboga, the kind of consciousness that you step into, where you have like the experiences that you were sharing at the beginning of the message is about unity, and when unit of consciousness is where
Hmm.
it's at. And so I think it's like a global human evolution out of that tribal consciousness that these iboga and other medicines can initiate for us. Yeah,
Mm.
that's where what we should sort of focus on. I also feel like there's a lot of voices right now who are all about capturing the profit potential of ibogaine iboga. And do you have something to say about that? About, I talk to people in the ibogaine world who say ibogaine won't let you do that. If you try to do that, you're going to fall on your face. It's going to just blow up. And it sounds to me like it's about ibogaine and it's about psychedelics that they won't let you do that. Can you talk about that a little bit? Any thoughts on it?
Let me quick think a bit what would be nice to say about that. Uh, well, I saw a lot of large scale operations in the iboga world that somehow didn't work out all too well. So always the people wanting to blow it up and basically making it a corporate thing and only in there for the cash. I've never seen one of these projects really working out. There were many, as far as I know. So let's see what's going to happen. I saw a lot of these uh, providers who do it not only because of cash, but mostly because of idealism, running a bit more of a humble practice, which is, I think, also something that the plant spirit somehow conveys, like not being only greed driven, but yeah, not. But I'm not sure what's going to happen. It's a interesting field to watch, at least.
Yeah. Well, how does it go in the Bwiti? You said you did iboga. Did you do it in Gabon when you did?
Yes, sometimes,
Yeah.
yes. So I mean, I'm initiated into the Zumba Fang tradition,
Okay.
and we go. I go regularly to Gabon and work there with the people. Um,
So how does
and
that work? How does their structure or format work in terms of how many people go through a ceremony at once, or how, because yeah,
Mhm,
I'd be curious to know if there's a crossover there between what they do, and because on this
mhm,
one end there's this corporate really cold numbers game that is not
mhm.
working, and on the other end there's something else that's organic community, from what I can tell.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, I mean, family is there really, really important, and the community is a really important thing. I think the microcosm of Puete in Gabon is so colorful, it's so diverse. There are so many different streams and rites that are sometimes totally opposing each other, even. Like there, I heard people saying when you are baptized, you cannot be a Bwiti initiate, and in the northern Fang area, there are people just syncretically merging Bwiti with Christianity, as like Santo Daime or the Yunyao de Vegetal. So I think the microcosm in Gabon of Puete is such a diverse field. So everything I say now about Puete is just like a very small fraction or a picture of a very small fraction and doesn't stand for the whole Puete. But what I really liked is this sincere preparation. Like you don't just do an initiation. It's like something where you prepare for a week or even longer, and some rides much longer, and some. But doing this plant bath, doing like cleansing, drinking these certain smoothies or this green leafy yeah, smoothies that are causing you to go to toilet 20 times, and cleansing properly, like having this certain respect before going into a very high dose of such a plant is I think very important, as well as the music and as well as the yeah collective, the whole community being part of it. So this is It's quite interesting how, for example, in the Western world, schizophrenia is usually looked as a exclusion criteria, like it's
Yeah.
psychosis or schizophrenia should definitely in a Western setting not be treated with iboga or ibogaine, but I've seen places in Gabon where this is basically the indication for an initiation. It's like this person, this is the spirit world saying you need to change, you need to look into something, and how the communal aspect of it is like very important, because if the whole village knows what this person is going through and what is happening with him, and they're caring for him even 1, 2, 3, 4 months after the initiation, is a total different thing than if somebody comes out of an iboga experience in the Western world talking about having seen their dead grandfathers and then being pathologized, and worst case scenario even being given antipsychotics. So it's this
Yeah.
communal aspect which is very important in Puete.
Powerful. Yeah, powerful. And then not being ostracized. I mean, that's what that is
Mhm.
when they be ostracized and labeled. Yeah, so that's something to bring over. And also, as you were describing these different traditions, that I think it's very natural and organic that if you start journeying with these plant sacraments, whether it's iboga or ayahuasca, whatever, you're going to develop your own practices out of this felt sense, somatic experience, and kind of your own awakening of your knowledge. It's going to evolve. So as I worked with psychedelic medicines long before iboga, we developed, you know trying to eat alkaline before we did a journey, because we noticed that we felt better if we did that. So we would so it's very natural to understand and have more awareness about what you're doing, and so then naturally different practices are going to come up, and that's going to happen in the Western world as well. It's already happening. People have different healing centers or retreats or processes, and there's some cross, you learn from each other, but um, yeah, I just feel like it's natural for that to happen, and that's a model we can take. But the community being there, I don't know how we can make that happen in our world today,
Mhm, mhm.
the way it is.
I'd love to see these community centers, like this post iboga experience lodges, places where people can live for a month or two to ground the iboga experience. I think this is something that is so very much needed, like using this window of neuroplasticity in a very safe setting, and that there are some of these undertakings going on, but it would be beautiful to see more of them, like post integrative centers.
Yeah, definitely. We're creating an aftercare, but it's only going to be a week, because most people can't afford to take a month or two off,
Yeah,
or both in terms of time and money. But at least having some little window is a nice thing, and then
definitely.
long-term integration, having resources. So I think I just want to share that that's what we're creating on Awake. We're bringing together mentors and masters, and not just with the ibogaine and iboga and ayahuasca and other plant medicines, but also with complementary modalities like breath work and detoxing and nutrition and EMDR and other things, so that somebody can have some support as they go through a journey. It's really, ibogaine is a journey of awakening and healing that is happening at different paces for different people. So that's the whole idea of what we're creating on Awake. So if anybody in this audience is an expert or has relevant experience to share, please join. If you're interested in learning more, please join. So we can kind of build something under one tent where many people can be found. That's the goal. Um, does anyone else have any questions? Oh, so Ads has made a comment about Aboriginal people traditionally used the milky latex of Tabernae montana orientalis. Oh, widely known as iodine bush or banana bush as a topical bush medicine. Okay. So basically, this was used for topical pain relief, I guess, and it's a cousin to iboga. Yeah, I've heard from someone in Peru that there's a lot of plants that contain ibogaine in different in the Amazon. So
Yeah, I think the Sanango, these eye drops that they use also, I think is Tabernauantia udulanta, also contains ibogaine.
right, if anything can revolutionize medicine, it's going to be ibogaine.
Certainly.
Yeah. Well, I think we can close our conversation. Can you just share where you can be found, or maybe put it in the chat?
Yeah, sure. I put my email address there. Second.
And then also searchable on Awake. Your profile is on there.
Okay.
Oh, I think there is one thing that you haven't spoken much about, which is Geeta, and you're the executive director of Geeta. Can you
Not
talk?
executive co-director like
Oh,
Jeremy. I think Jeremy, was he also on? I don't know. Jeremy was is also director, and Claire Wilkins also is director. So I mean, Gita has been pretty dormant because we all have other things to do, and it's basically run voluntarily. But we are now kind of boiling up some projects that might be published in the next couple of weeks. There might be something coming, most likely. Gita is currently more in a hibernating state, but I think it's gonna wake up sooner or later.
Yeah, I think there's some very useful stuff there. You have a manual of clinical. You have a Geeta manual, right, about
Yes, the guidelines, the clinical guidelines.
guidelines, which
Yes.
many people have found very useful, from what I can.
Yeah. The original guidelines were created for basically using ibogaine hydrochloride for opiate detox. And as you know, that the field of substances just exponentially is exploding more and more in all directions. So there need to be much more protocols, and there are a lot of providers out there. I think you know many of them also that have developed their own protocols, and I think it's going to happen that we kind of try to find all these different approaches for different substances and other conditions, not just substances, and how to
That would be very
administer
useful to have
safety.
a searchable, to have a repository of information would be very, very useful, I think.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, awesome. Well, gosh, I'm so happy that you shared with us. What a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
So this will be recorded, and it'll be up on AwakeNet on YouTube and on the Awake platform, and I'll be sharing excerpts, so it'll be easily available for anyone. Thank you all.